the system's broken. You only care about our spare change. You don't know what our sons died for. You only know where their bodies Now this machine speaks through the TV. It beds in big pockets. It feeds on the weak, and I know why. Well, you know how hard I try for you to see me again with your own eyes. Forget I've died.
So in terms of auxiliary percussion that we have on the album, really from my own background, because I've played percussion from 4th grade on all through high school, and then continued on with drum set and primarily after that. Not too many opportunities to play timpani unless you're with an orchestra or something like that. But so I always like the idea of incorporating that sort of percussion into music generally. And then Tyler has, I don't, because Tyler played saxophone, but he didn't play percussion, but he has sort of this like natural sense of rhythm that just worked out perfectly. Because like early on, I would be like, yo, Ty, you should play this. And he'd be like, play what? I can't do that. Oh, just, and he'd just do it perfectly on like the Huiro, and it was amazing. And then as we sort of kept working on it, he came in his own, would kind of just put stuff in there, and it worked out really well.
For playing at phase, I added some Vibraslap. I'm an expert Vibraslap player. And a little bit of range stick, trying to add some extra tones and elements to certain parts of the song. In other parts of the song, the Quiro. But yeah, overall, it's just adding those details to make it as awesome as possible.
Then in terms of percussion choices, I mean, that's really in terms of what you hear in that moment where you think it sounds good. And sometimes we try things and it would not sound quite as good. You throw those out, but no.
In addition to Tyler and Tim's auxiliary percussion on the record, we knew we wanted to add some brass instrumentation for the song Pendulum. Pendulum is one of the first songs Dave and I had ever written back in 2016 or 2017. And for this record, for this album, definitely one of the more emotional, heavy songs. And we had always envisioned there being a big, bright brass tone toward the climax, the bridge of the song. And in our live shows, Tyler always pulls that off with a synth trumpet, and it sounds great. But for this record, we knew we wanted to add something more authentic, and we wanted to have the real thing if possible. So I dusted off my old trumpet, and I had to practice a little bit because I hadn't played in years and I needed to get my chops back. But I'm glad I took the time to do that. And I'm glad we had the thought to have that instrument in on the album, on this song particularly, because with it being such an emotional song and having such heavy things to talk about, having that instrument at that part of the song really just lets the emotions overflow and really expresses what we're trying to say for the song. And it came out great, and I'm really glad it's one of the extra instruments we added.
There's a song on the record called Playing Out of Phase.
Are you afraid to be alone? So can we go?
It turned into this fucking huge thing. It was just a big sound, a lot going on, tons of shit. And then I'm like, what else can we add to this? And then I came up with this idea from something that I'd seen. It was the guy who did the score for The Witch. He had created this machine. It was called the Apprehension Engine. I was like, Apprehension Engine? I'm gonna make my own. And so I came up with the Fear Machine 1. And this was a wooden box that I had created, and I filled it with piezo pickups and random springs and random just like strips of metal, and I had actually cut my own wind chimes a half step down because I couldn't find any that were to that tonality. So I had created my own wind chimes and hung them inside, and having that worked perfectly with the record, and in doing so, we were able to add some fucking insane sounds to that song. I was like, let's fucking put that in there, and we did. The sound of the wind that you hear on a plane out of phase is the sound of the December wind whipping through the Fear Machine, and it'll chill you straight to the bone.
Did you not notice me? I was dead.